Welcome back to Turn Down for What, your source for EV news and updates. Like and subscribe for more content like this episode. Let's dive on in. Welcome back to Turn Down for What? Another day?
Another episode.
It's been a minute.
We keep
saying this every episode. We hop on and we say, it's been a minute. We're sorry, it's been a minute, but it has been another minute. And that is just, it is what it is.
A lot going on.
As we said in the last episode, nothing's changed. We love Turn Down for What, and we love the podcast, and yet we are all very busy. Jesse and I have just been in a crazy season with Power Up, getting a lot of stuff moving and a lot of things coming that we're excited to share with everybody. We can talk some about that today if we get to it. But just, in the season with time zones and everything, as I discussed last time, it's just it's a fun time. But I would like to say we are going to make an attempt with scheduling availability to be a little bit more consistent on posting, because everybody that's joined us on the journey to this point, we want to continue to provide content that showcases, one, what we're doing in the space. Chris, you get into a lot of exciting stuff out on the West Coast that we don't get to see, but also for us, kind of spotlighting what Jesse and I are doing with Power Up and the network and walking. A lot of people have asked us to continue to share updates on the network and how it's building and where it's going, and a lot to come on that vein, but want to continue to use the channel for spreading and continuing to spotlight exactly what all of us are getting our hands into. So we are here today, and we have an episode for you, and that is a start for today. So we'll let Chris get us kicked off, and we will get going.
Yeah, good to see you guys, fellas. It is a busy time of season. We got, Thanksgiving coming up. So I'm first of all thankful for you guys and this podcast that's brought us together, and the Lightning and the EV community. And it's just cool to have these conversations. And so just all the different guests and folks that have been a part of the journey. It's all really cool. And it's not just this part of the podcast, but, Martin and Jace have both been busy as well. Martin has both rebuilt and sold yet another Lightning, and been busy trying to rebuild a Mustang for his daughter, and been working on his generator project. And Jace
and all at the same time, he rebuilt his hands. So
yeah, had a surgery on his hands. So yeah, it's been a lot of cool stuff going on for everybody. Well, not the surgery is cool, but it's that part less so. So yeah, it's cool to have these conversations, but as everybody knows, life is also part of these things. So we like to share that as well. For me, obviously, it's the kids that a lot of times, especially in the holidays where there's things going on, family travel and school and work. And, in my 9 to 5, this is a busy time for us coming up on Black Friday. That gets crazy. So yeah, I got to do a night shift over at the Oakland hub, which was a lot of fun. And then I upgraded my Turn Down for What studio, which is cool. I'm having a lot of fun just playing around with this look. So guys, chime in the comments, because I've been using a virtual backdrop for a long time. And I think I'm just going to leave it without I don't know. What do you guys think, man? I
like it.
I've displayed my toys, like, the different Matchbox, and got my Bowe Pro Bowl jersey. There's a little Turn Down for What on the air, but I don't know. It might be too far away to see if that's what it says. But
I can barely see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like having the cool backdrop that actually looks like you're in a you've made a podcasting studio for yourself. For me, I just sit at my work desk, and I have this is a blurred out printer behind me because I'm just at my work desk.
Is that a real tree, or is that a fake?
It is a fake. It's a faux olive plant or something, but it kind of looks professional, but it's not the illuminate. I want to get a logo for the backdrop. I thought that'd be cool, but haven't gotten to that point yet. But yeah,
Jace
great looking studio.
Jace had a cool Ford light up thing in the back, and his almost caught on fire. So I have a different one. This one's just like light up LED thing. Maybe it'll be a little bit more simple. So we'll see how that goes. And then I've got my history of adapters, which I've got all these dang adapters. What the heck was I going to do with them? I thought, what a cool thing to do is just to display them all. So they actually go even further than can be seen here. There's 2 more adapters down here. So yeah, I just thought that'd be a cool way to just display those. One day they will be obsolete, man. It'll be like walking into an old barn with oil cans from back in the day. Like, what the heck are these, Grandpa? Oh, back in the day, you used to have these adapters you had to plug in. And just, now we're starting to see things like what caught Jesse's eye with the new Porsche, where you just drive up on it and it charges itself. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, I mean, the future is changing. So I figured I would change my future for broadcasting. I did a video on this whole thing too, by the way, just kind of going over this and like the history of my old podcast setup and the new podcast setup. So check that out on my channel. It's doing absolute trash right now. So anybody that wants to kick over to Bowe Family EV, and I'll leave a link in the description for that. I could use a few views because it is doing garbage and nobody cares. But if
that's why if you go on and post a short talking about 6-7, then you're going to get all the traction. But if you talk about podcast studios and things that people actually care about, right, nobody cares.
I was sharing with the fellas. I posted a Halloween thing with my daughter, and one of the things in there was 6-7, and that thing got 20,000 views. And yeah, meanwhile, I did this whole thing with like the charming history about the small dining room table that my wife and I had that became the COVID teaching table, that became the podcast table. And then, now I've got an actual desk for the first time, probably since college, since I've had an actual desk. Yeah, nobody cares. So yeah, if you would be like to be one of the dozens that cares, go to Bowe Family EV and watch that illuminating video. That would be helpful, please. Yeah, but yeah, talk about the Porsche. What caught your eye, and then we'll talk about FSD, man, because that thing seems to be making the rounds. I've seen videos about it everywhere, Jesse. It's got like 1,000 horsepower. It's got the inductive charging.
More than that. We're talking 1,139 horsepower. And when you look at the torque numbers, it's about 1,100. I think 1,106 is what they said. 0 to 60 is like 2.4, 2.5. I think it's 2.4. They said up to a 400-mile range. We've heard that before on other things. And then the inductive charging. But I think the you're looking a little over 100 kilowatt battery. I think it's like 100 in the low teens for the kilowattage of the battery. So to get 400 miles, obviously, if you're driving it the way I would at 1,100 horsepower all the time, which I probably would, then you're not going to get that many mileage. But it is a full turnkey new system. So I think that this platform is one that we can look at and say, okay, here's a bigger, heavy car. It's the most powerful. It's one of the most torque. It's one of the most muscular Porsches ever made. And I think the key here is not only with the inductive charging, which means you don't have to plug it in when you get home. You just drive over it and you're ready to go. The one thing I worry about that's how much energy loss are we looking at between the inductive charging. So anytime you take your phone and put it on an inductive charger, you're losing some of that electricity to the process where you could have plugged it in. So I'm really interested to see, is it enough to worry about in that case? But the other parts is, for me, when we have our board meeting coming up, I'm going to show this as the direction of the industry. Where could we find out? Again, I love muscle cars. I love big horsepower cars, but we're limited on what we can get in that arena to have a sports car with this type of power, with this type of torque. And this is just today's from one automotive manufacturer. What happens when you start getting multiple people creating Halo cars? And I don't even see this as a Halo car. I see this as just their GT version or their turbo version of a, what was it? The Cheyenne? Porsche Cayenne. It's the Cayenne.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is what you would see, my mom purchase, or if she wanted that car and drive around. So this is your standard car. It doesn't look exotic, but yet can blow the doors off of any car made up until just the hypercars of just a few years ago. So it's, to
Let's
me,
be
it's a
clear.
direction.
Let's be clear. Jesse said he's going to talk about it in the board meeting. He's putting it in as a budget line item for the 2026 budget. So let's just be clear.
He needs the
It's
range.
not what you think it is. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that, but just saying.
I mean, look, it pays for itself. Time is money. It's got longer range and a smaller battery, so less charging.
800 volt.
The 800 volt charges faster on those awesome chargers you guys are going to have set up.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a win-win, Josh.
I still see so much points of failure when it comes to inductive charging. I think that the first iteration of this is going to come out with plug-in, and similar to what Tesla's done is, it might be a future aspect as the inductive side, because I just,
somebody has to be the
idea
first.
sounds great, but DC fast charging inductive sounds like a nightmare. And even low voltage, like the slow charging inductive, you have to worry about the connect and disconnect and breakage, and like Jesse's talking about power loss. It's a good idea, and I think that's where it's going. I just think there's a lot more technology that has to advance before that becomes anywhere near a standard.
And keep in mind, this is a level 2. You're still going to have to connect it just like you would a level 2 at your house. But instead of plugging it in, it's a pad that you can run over that's in your floor of your garage, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's not anything that's going to replace anything tomorrow. But the fact that it's coming to market through a very high-end automotive maker shows you the direction that they feel like. And we know that Tesla has been fiddling with this in the past. We know that Oak Ridge National Labs, for example, had a test of level 3, and I can't remember the exact numbers, unfortunately, but it's 2-3 years ago. I remember researching it, and it was over 270 kilowatts delivered through inductive charging. Now, I don't want to be standing around anywhere near it when it happens. I will be having, lead underwear just in case, but it's still showing that the technology potentially is there. I just can't get over the horsepower numbers. When I first heard this on the Hummer, I was like, oh, wow, that torque number and all the horsepower. But this is a small, compact SUV that is designed for the masses from one of the better manufacturers out there. This is a legit car that I think is, again, going to set that bar high. And, if you're looking at this or a Model Y, obviously the decked out level, two-motor, but we're talking probably $80,000 difference between the two of them. But that's going to be the two cars that's out there that you look at and say, okay, and they also have another model that they're bringing out that's in the 400 power, and they have the lower end. But I'm very impressed with it, to the point where I'm really going to go look. I really want to go look at one of these.
2.4 0 to 60.
God,
that's crazy.
That's spicy.
Yeah, and it's just
and I
interesting.
would do it every day.
Yeah. You look at Jesse's tires, and you know that he would do it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Sapphire out there that there's been Kyle just did a bunch of videos on, which is crazy impressive. Obviously, you've got the Model S Plaid, but it's just kind of the same thing that it's been. A couple little things on the margins that they've improved, but nothing, dramatically transformative. And I think the Germans are good with the range, man. When they say this is the range, they're pretty accurate with their range, it seems. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Specifics, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Well, and I think there's some Chinese out there with Chinese brands with the Xiaomi and the Zeekr and the
BYD. Yeah,
like they make some impressive numbers, but what they lack that the Germans bring is the dynamics, right? The little bit more of the refinement and a little bit more of the stuff that, frankly, that I don't even appreciate, man. The stuff like, I don't have any business being in a 1,000 horsepower vehicle. Frankly, I don't have any business being in the vehicle that I'm in now, as far as the horsepower. I don't need all that stuff. But yeah, for enthusiasts that actually can appreciate it, that used to actually race cars and could really, take that torque and apply it properly.
What's better than 1,000 horse? What's better than 1,000 horsepower?
Yeah.
What's that?
2,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
I've never raced a car, but what I know is when I push the accelerator, I like the way that it feels.
Yeah.
So I don't have any really true appreciation the way Jesse does as a former race car driver. I know that I appreciate the response that the accelerator gives me when I push it. And that's where I think in this situation, this vehicle takes that times 2. And obviously there is faster, but the overall offering of it's 113 kilowatt battery pack. So I mean it's smaller than the Lightning's is going to be, but the 800 volt architecture, it proves that 800 volt architecture, small battery pack, ta-da, good range, fast charging.
I feel like 400 is the right range too, in my opinion.
20 to 80,
I really like that number.
20 to 80 in 16 minutes. Like, okay, like that's very doable for a charging session.
It's got the new curves. It's got that crazy curved screen. It's got, just all of these. I think the Germans do things really well. There's there is a Mercedes. I want to say the CLA. I don't know if they're coming out with it or they have it. It's getting like in the high 400s of range, 800 volt architecture. Again, very nice and refined. It's another one that's got 300 kilowatts of charging. That is slowly starting to become in some of those higher end vehicles stuff that we see, and some of these other, Tesla, Ford, some of these other guys are going to have to eventually switch over with this stuff, I would think. And I love seeing more.
What are you talking about? The Teslas are going to be flying now, from what I understand. So
yeah, we'll see what that launch event, when they do their when they do their Roadster, when that thing comes out. I think so. I wanted to start off with this conversation because I wanted to give the real paradox, right, of vehicles, the polar opposites, where on one end you've got, the extreme horsepower, the 2.4 seconds. What was the time?
Yep.
So you've got all that horsepower, all that speed. You got some of these high-end cars like Gravity, like the Porsche, like Mercedes of the world. You've got these things that are out there. Like the Lucid, which has the what was the one that I was just talking about that's so dang fast? Anyway,
Sapphire.
It's like Sapphire, right? 200,000. So I wanted to talk about what I think is gonna, really transform transportation. Though I think, and that's Tesla FSD, which is in many ways I think the opposite of everything that we're talking about. And it's funny because, on our Model Y, my wife experienced the FSD and took it on a girls' road trip down to Disneyland and back. And I asked her, because the subscription was running out, they gave it to us for free for a certain amount of time when we got it. I was like, hey, do you want to subscribe for different periods? What'd you think? It can drive you to work and back. I borrowed the car for a week because I just wanted to experience it. I used it everywhere, any excuse. Store, work, dentist appointment, kids, picking them up. Like every place I went, I used that thing. And it was amazing. Like I was blown away. And I was struck because Brandon Flash has been posting. He's just getting the itch, man, because he's doing the same thing where he's driving his wife's Model Y and he's almost itching to go and just go get a new Model Y with FSD because you get to where the car just drives itself constantly. And it just changes the way you see transportation. Everybody puts attention around robo-taxi. And I did kind of a, sarcastic mocking video where I talked about where I used Ford's, Blue Cruise and lane centering. And, I was driving it, first on kind of a surface highway street. And I jokingly, for anybody in the comments, said, oh, that's a red light. I did not literally blow through a red light, but the point being, it will not stop for the red light, right? If there is a car in front of you, it will stop just like the car in front of you, but it will otherwise blow right through a red light. And, I joked about how I would have to manually, turn onto the freeway on ramp. And then I showed how I was going down the freeway, and there's a lot of people that will compare the two, Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, Dream Drive. Debbie Dahl, who's a friend out here that owns a Lucid, was excited because she got to drive her Lucid down I-5 out here and had Dream Drive, and it was great. And that's a perfect use case when I was driving across the country, when I'm driving down I-5 for Dream Drive, Super Cruise, all that kind of stuff, hands-free. It really is awesome, and that's the perfect use case for it. But that's not FSD. It's so much more advanced. It does so much more. And I'll see these automotive magazines compare them, or even sometimes rate FSD below Blue Cruise and Super Cruise. And it blows my mind. Like, are we even in the same vehicle? What are you talking about? And So like on, some people gave Debbie a hard time for being so excited about her thing, and it got into this whole debate. So I made this video as kind of a like, hey, we argue with each other about these things. They're not the same thing, like, and so in that going down the freeway, I then also joked about like, hey, look, it's the same thing. I'm full self-driving. I'm hands-free. I'm sipping on a Starbucks. And then I jokingly missed my exit because of course it's not going to take the exit. It's just going to ignorantly and dumbly, progress forward. And in the best of case scenarios, in the newest of Mustangs, the Mach-E, it will lane change for you. But again, it's dumb. It doesn't, if I'm coming up on my off ramp and the Mach-E thinks it can lane change, it's going to lane change away from my exit ramp. Like it doesn't know that I'm coming up a mile away from my exit. It's going to literally lane change into the faster lane away from my off ramp. It is a dumb system in every regard, which isn't to say it's not useful and amazing and still great technology for its purpose, but they're not the same. And what struck me about my wife's experience is she hated it for all the reasons that are the opposite of what you love, Jesse. For her, it was too aggressive, too fast, accelerated too quickly, and decelerated too abruptly. She wanted it to be more because she's coming out of a gas car, right? So the Model Y has so much power that any EV coming out of it in the mass audience world, and, the FSD is a miracle for people of mobility, of freedom, I think it democratizes transportation in a way that hasn't been seen since maybe the electric starter or an automatic transmission. I want to get your take on that. I think it's the opposite of all the thing that enthusiasts love about speed and horsepower and acceleration. It just needs to be a basic function that's going to allow people to transport themselves. And I think what's important more about FSD than Robotaxi or Waymo or all these things that people pay attention to is you own FSD. It's like Waymo and all this stuff is great, but you don't own it. FSD you own, you control it, you have full independence with it. So that's just a lot of jumble of thoughts that I was thinking of as I watched these videos and saw these debates and saw the Robotaxi versus Waymo thing. And I'm like, to me, far more important is FSD. Well, yeah, what do you think?
I mean, I will say I had never driven true full self-drive, and I did it for the very first time on the channel. And a buddy of mine had bought the new Model Y Juniper, and I made it a review of the Model Y. But then, I got to the point in the video where I'm turning around and he was showing me full self-drive. So I'm just sitting in my office parking lot, and he's like, okay, type in where you want to go, just hit the start button. And we tap the start button, and all of a sudden the car goes, bloop, I'm in my parking lot. Like, my experience is Blue Cruise. And here I am, I'm used to getting on the interstate, like you're saying. I'm used to it taking me away from my exit. It's being unstable around curves. And I'm sitting here, and it automatically just kicks into gear and says, okay, I'm going to take you from your parking space to your local grocery store. And I'm like, I having experienced the iffiness that I have with Blue Cruise as far as its stability and its ability to run, I had a lot of hesitation behind that. It took me, Google Maps or the mapping system that it uses wanted me to go out a certain way that doesn't exist anymore. The car recognized that, as you see right here. It actually automatically turned me around in a parking space, then recognized the alternative way to get out of the parking lot, as you're seeing. But I literally was going back roads. I was going, through all of these places and literally never touched the steering wheel. And these are remote roads. This is to a grocery store, into a parking space, without ever having to control the steering wheel. And the level of how far above and beyond it goes for that purpose is just insane. Reading the red lights, detecting when somebody pulls out. I'll try to find it. We got a little bit farther up the road, and right here, and there's literally a mailman that comes out and is parked on the side of the street, it recognized that I could pass it over the double lines and no car was coming. So it brought me over the double lines to pass a mail truck. And it's like the thought brain behind the actual AI is so much more advanced than what the lidar that you get out of Blue Cruise, which is like you're saying, very one way. It thinks one way, it does one thing, and yes, it's reading and scanning the roads and understanding, but it's not making real life calls. And I showed in the video, it actually a bear, because we're in East Tennessee, ran out in the road. It avoided it. Dogs ran out in the road. It went the other way. But it knows where the cars are coming. So it knows if it can go into the other lane of traffic or if it needs to go off the road. It makes the call, which is going to think quicker and better likely than the driver would, because it's already understanding everything that's happening on the road in the compute system. And so, for me, it was a life-changing experience to drive full self-drive. I don't know why this isn't talked about more, because literally the guy says that the owner, drives his full self-drive everywhere all the time, full time. And yes, it's $100 a month, but at the same time, like, he literally doesn't have to ever touch the steering wheel, because this is remote East Tennessee. And the fact that you can be sitting in your driveway at your house and hit a button and be taken automatically to your doctor's office, and it parks you in a parking space there. That's hey, we got to get grandma. The future, the next iteration is unsupervised. Grandma can get to the grocery store. Grandma can get to the doctor's office, or the person can get around. But if the vehicle is like that, doing this safely, it's just the next iteration of advanced technology that is beyond. Like, I didn't realize that full self-drive was as sophisticated as it was, and this was the most up-to-date version. There's the mail truck, but it knew that I could pass without hitting that car, and it did it. So anyways,
it knows when you're sleeping, it knows when you're awake, and I can attest it changed his life. He came to work the next day with a better step as he was walking around. He saw colors more vivid. He could smell things more. It was a great life-changing experience.
It was. I was absolutely blown away by the technology and how it existed. Now we get an ad because I don't have YouTube Premium.
Yep. So I agree with that. I mean, that's why Tesla is so much more valuable than other companies. That's why it's taking a huge amount of compute and cameras and things to do it a different way for Waymo. I'm not intelligent enough to know which system's going to be better, but so far I look at this and go, my two eyes are what we use to drive with. So if we could ever come up with the system that uses that same technology, it's still working for us with two cameras. So it's the brain behind it that is the thought process that goes into it. And again, this is where I believe that Tesla is so much more advanced than everybody else, and is why they're worth a lot of what the stock is. It just, I don't see this coming to any other car. You have Super Cruise, you have Blue Cruise. I don't see it getting to this because they didn't build their system for this. They have built their system to catch up to this, but it's not native. So I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get their back end information. I mean, even the cameras, this constantly records and you can go back and see it. My truck doesn't do that. I don't think the newer trucks will record if somebody keys your truck or whatever, can do it. That recording is the data that's used to make the systems better. That's the metadata that's looked at to figure out how and what to do next. And as AI develops, it's going to put everybody on the same level quicker because AI can figure it out faster than everybody else, or it's just going to make the Tesla part even better. But to your point, it's not grandma. I'm looking at this thinking, okay, my mom has to make it to this doctor's appointment. My mom has to, eventually I'm going to have to make it to doctor's appointments, and my kids are not going to want me to drive there. So what's that look like? And I think that having this gives me confidence that I'm going to have a full self-driving. I'm going to pay the $100 or $200 or $300 a month because I can still go anywhere I want to. And then when I get home, I could say, bye car, I don't need you today. And it's going to drive off and it's going to pick other people up, and I'm going to make money on that car. And I'm going to make that payment for other people using that car. within the city or whatever. And I think that's the other unique part about this.
I've got two neighbors. I've literally a next door neighbor to me who suffered a health event recently. And I've got one that lives across the street. For as long as I've known them, I've seen one of those paratransit buses that has to pull up every once in a while for certain, I'm assuming just certain domestic needs that they have to go and do trips, right? In both of those use cases, you've got, my neighbor that has to rely on their spouse to take them where they need to go after that health event. And then the one across the street is a long-term thing. An elderly grandparent that, either has to wait for somebody, or if that person is at work, has to get this paratransit company. And so in both of those cases, you've got a lack of freedom, a lack of mobility. And, as all of us age, or as you run into circumstances, and people will talk about Robotaxi or Waymo, but man, if you've ever been to a big event, we went to a Giants game at the end of the season, and we went to go look at the ferry that brings us back across the bay. It was sold out. And we went to go look at what the Robotaxi or Waymo was going to cost to bring us over. And it was going to be like $100 for peak pricing. It was crazy. So imagine like a natural disaster or a peak pricing plan, and it's not yours, right? So I really do feel more so than all these other things owning the software. And where I admire Tesla, and Tesla gets a lot of grief for the, let's call them idiosyncrasies of their CEO. But man, they do things the right way. And Jesse, you work with a CEO that might have idiosyncrasies from time to time.
They're horrible.
They're horrible, right? These CEOs, you gotta take the good and the bad. We love you, Josh. And they don't always buy you the Porsche that you probably deserve as a hardworking employee, but
employee.
I like the way this
I
is
will
going.
let him get the Porsche. That's how it's going to be. So
that's a CEO car. So
CEO car. Yeah. Anyway, it's I just think, but what they fundamentally do differently than everybody else, to your point, Jesse, is you're right. Blue Cruise will never be what FSD is. It's hardware limited.
I don't think they're investing in it either like they need to.
No, even the hardware we have in our Lightning, it's pretty much at this point, that's all it can do. Like the newest Mustang, the newest Mach-E can do automatic lane changing that our Lightning is hardware limited to, and cannot even do that, and never will. And, now are they going to go and invest in new hardware for a next generation at some point down the road, years down the road, maybe. But
Not for a while.
Not for a while. And they have said on their earnings call, they have straight out said that the Blue Cruise, for what it is, hands-free highway driving, that their Blue Cruise team can do that and refine it and continue to improve it in certain ways. But when it comes to city driving and hands-off autonomy, they will have to partner with somebody. And he has also said that he is in the LiDAR camp. Jim Farley has. So I was always hopeful that partnership would be FSD, and it clearly isn't going to be, which is
for now
fine. For now, yeah, we'll see where that partnership goes. But then you've got Lucid has partnered with I think NVIDIA and a company out of Vegas to do something, and they're going to put stuff right now on their Gravity, and then they're going to put stuff eventually on the mid-sized offering that they are going to have. And Waymo has partnered with Zeekr. And Zeekr has some autonomous vehicles that are specific for that purpose. So there's going to be all these different options out there. But there are two important differentiators for Tesla. And one is that you actually own the Tesla, whereas, the Waymo option and what they're talking about with Lucid, you don't own those. Those are a rideshare service that they're talking about. And it is the only one that is vertically integrated. Nobody else is vertically integrated. This is Tesla's team, Tesla's software, Tesla's hardware. They are doing it all from top to bottom. And so you're not beholden to somebody else's technology or patents or cycles or any of those things. I just think that's so important, and I admire it so much. And
it's where, and it's just the simple reality is like when you buy a Model Y Juniper, the one that I drove in the video, it has all the exact same technology as the Robotaxi that's on the road. And, you can go buy that for 45,000 or whatever that cost is. But, a Waymo, if you want to go put that into business, it's going to cost 200 grand for all the cameras and the mounting and all these systems to become an automated ride share. But, to your point, Chris, you can pay 45,000 and you own the Tesla that has all the capabilities of the robotaxi minus an internal camera to monitor the cab. But it's like the outside full self-drive capabilities of that vehicle are the exact same as the robotaxi. And so when unsupervised full self-drive comes out, it's a software upgrade to the Model Y Juniper. And all of a sudden, guess what? You're a full self-driving unsupervised on the roadways that next day. And it's not like this system would, like, I have almost gotten in wrecks because of Blue Cruise before. It has randomly wanted to steer me off the left side of the road driving down the interstate. And if I didn't quickly take over, I would have gotten in a wreck because it was going to drive me off the side of the road. I felt like the car was in complete control the whole time, driving back roads with full self-drive. It is night and day difference between the two. And maybe there's something that I'm missing as far as the safety and logistics. But for me, Blue Cruise is like down here. With Super Cruise is maybe a little bit better, but not they're getting close to being pretty much the same nowadays. But then like full self-drive is in a world of its own where, there's so much stability and comfort. And I asked him, how often do you have to take control? He's like, very, 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 very randomly or rarely. Like it's most of the times it's in complete control and it notifies you, here is where I need you to take over, rather than just steer you off the side of the road. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to get in a wreck. But the infrastructure that's being built in the Model Y as it exists is the same as what's in the fully autonomous version. And that's the next iteration of that release. Whereas Ford and all these other competitors are just lagging behind with what, like you're saying, it's not vertically integrated. It's going to have to partner with somebody else in order to put that technology into place. And that's just not streamlined. And that's where I think Tesla is going to continue to shine.
Yeah. And I also like the Zooks. I don't know if you've seen them or not. They're also, for some reason, I just dig the way they look. I dig the way they're doing it.
Well, believe it or not, Jesse, they are actually made right here in Hayward, where I live, right down the street. I have not been. Yeah, I've got to try to figure out how to get into their manufacturing warehouse here, but it's
you hear that? Just go ahead and give Chris a call, and we need to see your product because I really like. I think it's down in Texas is where I read about where they were doing one of their study or one of their trials, and I got the app, and they're like, "Sorry, it's not in your area." And I kind of figured that was going to be the case, but
they're in Vegas. They're going from across from some different casinos.
That might have been where I was thinking it was from. So we're obviously ACT coming up this year, and we'll all be there at ACT. We might have a chance to actually use that app when we get there and try a way to see if it'll let us get around anywhere.
Yeah, it's the technology is definitely coming, and I think you interestingly point out I think one of the dilemmas, Josh, which is that it felt so safe and it felt so polished and it felt so stable and dialed in that it gave you in a way a false sense of security because it can, how dangerous in a way that Blue Cruise can be. I experienced it. I was and look, I'm not disrespecting Blue Cruise. I had an amazing time. I was so excited when I picked it up in Tennessee, when I picked up my Lightning in Tennessee and got to experience Blue Cruise as something that I didn't have for my first 3 years of ownership. And I got to drive it across the country. Blue Cruise was amazing. It was a really big deal for driving that far. But it, on a couple of occasions, erred out, and on a couple of occasions would have made deadly mistakes if I was not engaged. But I knew to be engaged because I knew the dangers. Just like you said, Josh, you are fully aware of the dangers of Blue Cruise. And I think it's easy to forget that with FSD. And I think that is one of the interesting but odd criticisms where when I read some automotive reviews of it, I don't know which one, my Car and Driver or one of these, and I probably, I'm probably getting it wrong, but it's one of those Kelley Blue Book, Car and Driver, one of those big names. And they did a whole review of these ADAS, and they somehow reviewed FSD as lower. And when you read it and you listen to it, it really came down to, it gave people a false sense of security, which in their mind made it more dangerous. That people saw it because of its name and its branding of full self-driving. Then that in some way it was kind of like what you just said, Josh. It gave them that idea that it was this thing that in some way made it dangerous, but in every way it's superior in every way. But oddly, it's so good that it can be dangerous. So it's an interesting dilemma because
But
it's not
I think
perfect.
that's where though, like, they're comfortable enough in these major urban centers to go ahead and unlock it. And so that's where they are on the cusp. They're so close that yes, it can make mistakes, but they are far closer to the solution than otherwise. And yes, can it still make mistakes? Can you generate a video where it drives through uh, a picture of a roadway or whatever they did in that one test? But like the capability, the fact that they're now trusting this thing like Waymo and other technologies in San Francisco, in Houston, like it's just the next iteration of like it's going to begin to unlock in certain districts where they're able to control those variables. But once AI has progressed so much that once they get to the point that it can really truly understand all those variables, the less than 1% failure rate is going to go to less than 0.001%. Then it's going to go, it's going to become so little that it's going to be something that can be expanded. And will it still make mistakes? Possibly. And I think we had this discussion a long time ago. The tolerance for AI to mess up is 0, but humans make it probably are at a 0.01. But if we get to 0.001, it's still not enough for AI because then everybody's going to point the fingers. But the point is, at what point can it become safer than the humans driving? And the other variable is if all the cars eventually have that, then they're able to know what each other are doing and predict even potentially communicate to each other.
Edge-based compute, way with V2P communication systems.
If eventually the cars can communicate and saying, hey, a dog just ran out the road, I'm going to go this way, you go that way, like they will eventually be able to actually talk to each other as that technology improves. We can't fathom where that's going, but also like the fact that AI and this even exists from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is just, it's continuing to evolve at such a pace that I don't think that we're dealing with unsupervised full self-drive. And yes, maybe today there is that superficial, edge of confidence. But when it comes to like 5 years from now, I think that AI brain is going to have improved enough to where it's going to understand pretty much any situation and circumstance and be able to either tell you need to drive in the situation, or I have complete control of this and I'm able to understand every aspect of what's happening in your surrounding environment and make the best decision that's going to protect you.
40,000 people die each year of car crashes, or more than 40,000. How many would this save out of that? And that's what you got to balance. Okay, let's say there's mistakes that are made. It costs 100 lives, but we go from 40,000 to 20,000. It's a horrible thing. You can't put that on a piece of paper and somebody say, yes, let's do this, because somebody is still losing their life. But we got 40,000 people that die. How can we eliminate that 40,000 people that dying each year? And that would be my goal.
Yeah, I think the future questions are going to be things like, you gave the example of deer running out, Josh. How many fewer accidents are there from things as simple as deer? Are we going to make the same mistakes as these ADAS systems evolve, like we have with NACS and CCS being different standards, or vehicle to home being different standards, where Tesla's got one and Ford's got one and Chevy's got one? Will all of like you were just talking about, will all these cars actually be able to communicate with each other? Or are we going to go down that same path we always do, where they're all independently working on different protocols? So there's so much still to come on this, but the first thing is to solve getting them to work the correct way. Will Tesla take full accountability for their software, right? If it is eventually what they claim, which is that you can go to sleep and arrive in your destination, to me, Tesla, and maybe they do it by saying, in order for us to take accountability, you have to have Tesla insurance. Some type of way, though, it seems to me that Tesla has to have accountability and say that you used our product as designed. If it fails and gets into an accident, they should be liable. I'd be interested on maybe a different episode to hear your thoughts on that.
0.001% failure. If they charge enough for insurance, they could have a good money making model there too. So
yeah,
they can pay the consequences of a few if everybody else opted into an insurance, but that's a really complicated problem.
And a quick search on the internet, of course, because it's on the internet, it has to be true. When we were talking about 40,000 people that died, just deer, it's estimated that 2.1 million deer collisions each year, 59,000 injuries, 440 fatalities annually. So when you start looking at just deer impacts and you think 2.1 million crashes that are fixed, even if it's $1,000 repair job, how much money is being saved there? And still 440 fatalities each year from somebody hitting a deer. And not everybody's a great driver like I am. Some people don't know how to avoid a deer. Speaking of which, Josh, you were about to say something?
I was going to say my truck didn't have any full self-drive on the back roads of North Carolina when I was driving in the dark and a deer jumped out. Maybe the Tesla would have avoided that, but that repair bill was $11,000.
Yeah, and it wasn't $11,000 damage either. I mean, I was looking at it going, okay, that ain't that bad, and then it's $11,000.
And it might have seen it well ahead of time before it even got onto the roadway. It started to slow and move and get in a position where it could have defended itself in a way to.
It probably saw it when it woke up that morning.
$11,000 of car damage on an instance. There was no person harmed, but the deer got harmed. But in that instance, $11,000 of vehicle damage could have potentially been avoided by software. And the vehicle's supposed to have auto stop and all those things. It did not have any of that. It just plowed the deer. But that's where just as an example, it doesn't even have to necessarily equate to fatalities. The amount of traffic accidents, Jesse, pull that number up. How many traffic accidents happen a year? It's going to be millions and millions of traffic fender benders and all these side swipes and all these things that are going to be avoided by driving technology that's going to avoid those massive incidents. And yes, fatalities is the ultimate goal to draw down. But if it helps alleviate vehicle damage, that's going to also improve driver experience. Jesse, give us the number.
2023, a source 6.14 million motor vehicle crashes in the U.S. overall. So you start thinking also who is going to lose when you start thinking that 6 million accidents each year are gone. There's a lot of lawsuits that's not going to happen because of this. There's a lot of interest to say, hey, we don't really need that. We really kind of want this to happen because we make a lot of money on putting those billboards up saying, are you injured? So if you eliminate that many crashes or even half of that, that's a huge amount of money out of their pockets. And it's also a lot of money out of repair bills. And I know that car companies make a lot of money on repair parts. Anybody, take what vehicle you have right now and go look up the price of its tail light. And then tell me if they make a lot of money. Look at the headlights, the two easiest things to get broken, a crash, even a minor fender bender. As well as I do, that piece of plastic ain't $6,000, but yet they can charge that much for it because they know how to do it. So you start eliminating that. And again, I don't think that's the model that Tesla has. I don't think they're like, if we could have more crashes, we could sell more headlights and make a lot more profit on that piece of plastic that's put together. So it's all about the interest too.
But that means that one in 60 Americans every year get in a wreck. I mean, that's a significant number as far as the amount of car accidents. I mean, there's 350 million Americans, and if you're actually seeing in the ballpark of 6 million wrecks a year, I mean that's a lot. And yes, most of that's just little fender benders, bump into something. Police reported little instances, but if all that can be avoided, that's a massive amount of car damage that gets alleviated.
So at the end of the day, what we're saying is self-driving good.
I think it's phenomenal. I think the biggest problem is really for me that they don't make a product that I love, right? I love Tesla. The Cybertruck is too expensive. It's too gaudy. It's a great.
I want my F-150 Lightning with full self-drive.
Oh, that would be great.
Or again, like the Model Y is a great car. My wife is really loving it, but it's oddly smaller. Although dimensionally, it is almost the same and even slightly bigger than the Ford Edge that we came out of as a gas vehicle, and is a better driving experience in almost every way. it is physically internally smaller. It is less wide because of the curves and the way it's shaped, less cargo capacity, less width. And I'm a wide person. Oh, hey, get a little used to that. It is less wide and everything than the Edge, and it is noticeable to the kids. It's noticeable to my wife, noticeable to me, and I want the Rivian R2 body style. I want the truck body style. I want to sit up high, and everything from Tesla is Model 3, Model Y, Model S, or
The only thing that
opposite.
fits, the only thing that fits is a Cybertruck. And for me, actually, second row of a Cybertruck, I don't fit in the second row of a Cybertruck.
Second row is smaller than the Lightning, and the front is way smaller. And it is.
And you have to like the Cybertruck, but that's the only vehicle that for me and you, we're going to be comfortable sitting in, and I don't want to own that. For me,
it's 80. It starts at $80,000, right? And you can get an STX or any number of these other ones for 50s and all this other stuff. Right? It's just so yeah. I wish they had a broader range that I could love and get something else. I love that my wife has the Y now. It's really great, but it's still. I've twice been tempted to get myself a Y with full self-driving and completely just change the way I see driving. And I do think eventually I will end up in something with full self-drive. Brandon Flash is literally going through this moment today. Josh, you had that crazy moment too. And yet they just don't have the vehicle that I love. And I think it's interesting for Brandon too, where he's got the Lightning and he's about to have his first child. And I think he's going to love full self-driving, but I think he would way be happier in the Lightning with his first child in a car seat, in a stroller, and all of going to Costco and all that stuff. As much as he loves full self-driving, day-to-day life is going to be way happier. His road trips, which he goes on way more than me. So I get why he would love FSD for his content and his driving. But I'm telling you, day-to-day life is way better in a Lightning than a Model Y, even with FSD. And so there is still a gap there. But I just find the criticisms interesting. And there's a funny joke by Louis C.K., who I know is an imperfect messenger because some of his background is, rough. But he's got an awesome joke about Wi-Fi, and it's an old joke back when Wi-Fi was brand new on airplanes. Go Google search on YouTube, Louis C.K. airplane Wi-Fi joke. But essentially, it was when Wi-Fi just became a thing on aircraft, and he travels a lot for his comedy shows. And he jokes about how they said, hey, we're trying out this new Wi-Fi on aircraft and, enjoy the free Wi-Fi. And they're on the plane and he's like, man, I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm streaming. I'm seeing Wi-Fi. This is amazing. And then at some point during the flight, it errors out. And this, this kid gets all mad and bitchy about it, that it failed. And he's like, how you're so entitled and so pissed off about something that you didn't know existed just 10 minutes ago. And like, did you just partake in the miracle of flight? Did you just, give it a minute? It's going up into space. And he's got this whole joke about it. And it's, I steal one of the lines where he talks about somebody being a non-contributing zero and being critical about people that are literally performing miracles. And I think about that with FSD and some of these things, SpaceX that catches its own rockets. And I'm like, people get so critical about these people that are performing miracles and doing things that other people didn't even conceive of. And then they get critical about these details and they want to nitpick of them. And you should want them to be better. They need to be better. They have to be better. You can't have deaths. You can't have them fail. It's unacceptable that they do. But some of these people that go out there and tear down the mistakes as not just being part of the process, as not just being part of the evolution, as though they're not going to be better 6 months from now than they were 6 months before, as though they don't see the long term of this. It just confuses me. And I just think that's just kind of where I'll leave it. Is I feel like I've been blown away by it, and I think it is the future. I think of the old days when people used to have to get out of their car, right, and crank it, right, to make it start. Not everybody could do that, right? You weren't capable. Not everybody could. Now you got an electric starter that just makes the car go. Now so many more people are capable of driving. Changing to an automatic transmission. Not everybody could figure out a stick shift. To me, it's that kind of transformation, FSD. Maybe not today, but it will be.
And we fail to realize in our lifetimes, I mean, our lifetimes are a little bit different between me and Jesse. But in our lifetimes, let's just say since 1970 to present, how far technology has come Shut up, Jesse. I'm just giving a range of 50 years.
How old do you
on how
think I am?
I am 50. I was born in 1974. I am 50.
There we go.
74.
See,
There we go.
I grew up in a time
1970.
where seatbelts were optional. I did
Yeah.
not wear a seatbelt in my mom's 72 Pontiac Firebird.
But no cars had computers in them. It was all,
Carburetor
very
points.
much one way. But now the standard has become, these different safety technologies and the from going to simple things like airbags to more sophisticated things like pretty much almost every car now comes with things like adaptive cruise control and some of those things that like 10 years ago wasn't the standard, but now it is. And as the technology and as the world becomes so much more advanced with technology, it's we look at, okay, here's the failures of today, but you flash forward to 15, 20 years, every vehicle might be made with some sort of full self-drive technology. And that might be the standard at that point in time, which I firmly believe that it will be. But then if that's the case, then the entire roadway becomes safer because every vehicle knows what it's doing, where it's at, how it's doing. And yes, it might be software controlled, but humans are bound for error. Humans are bound to drive drunk. Humans are bound to do stupid things. And a lot of that, like making U-turns and things that you're not supposed to do. And that's where when you come into the confines of software that knows the rules and is going to obey the rules, you'll actually have a more safe society because the technology can lead you to that direction. And you're seeing that play out in front of our eyes. But just because it's come from where it's at to where we're at today doesn't mean that this is where it's going to be. 5 years from now, it's not going to look the same. 10 years from now, it's not going to look the same. But that technology is going to get so much better that it's going to continue to revolutionize how transportation is done.
Jesse, you love compute and you love performance. Close us out, man. What are your thoughts?
The only way this needs to get adopted is if A, it does save lives, and B, the cost doesn't make a vehicle more expensive. It's already too hard to make ends meet for a lot of Americans. So if this allows you to take your vehicle and make an income off of it outside, just let it go do its thing on the weekends, and it drives itself, and you come home and now all of a sudden the payment is made. Not only is it going to help the person it picked up and dropped off because now they can make it to whatever and they don't have to own a car, but it makes the whole society be able to have the same mobility without that money being spent. And I think that's the key to it. We can talk about how great that they look and how, not a lot of people can afford an $80,000 pickup truck, So what this needs to do is this a car for the masses? It's always been promised and never delivered. One thing I remember hearing about was when I think it was Bill Gates talked about if anybody that made computers ever made a car, they could make it for $8,000 because of the processes involved. I do fully believe Tesla is in that realm trying to do that. I believe Ford now has shifted gears into trying to get that $30,000 pickup truck that can make a delivery for brake pads to the dealer down the road from Napa, or it can do things around town. I don't think that's going to be autonomous, but I think that they are trying to get that car for the people. And even if it's a gas-powered car, there's not a lot of $30,000 gas-powered cars today either. So technology is great. We need to have, we've not pushed the boundaries of making that affordable car perform well and then also serve purposes outside of what it's designed for. And I think that as technology moves forward, that's what we're going to look for. And then you have people that are pushing the boundaries. This Porsche, to wrap it up, this Porsche is pushing the boundaries of what we feel like an SUV EV could be. I really like the numbers, not just because they're massive, but it shows what we are capable of. And it shows that it's something progressing above what gas is. I love gas cars still. I love big motors. I love the sounds. I don't advocate getting rid of the F-150 Raptors that are out there. But if it's a 4-cylinder twin turbo that has no power that, and our trucks could replace that, or these cars that get crushed because you could care less about them, or a people's car that could get everybody around on a cheap, basis on an annual basis, those are the type of cars that are ideal to replace with EVs. And people like us are going to adopt, they're going to drive them. But what if I could make a revenue on my vehicle while I'm at home today before I leave on my trip? What if I had 3 trips and I made $80 this morning? What if that single mom could buy a Tesla and the payment on that brand new car is made because you're letting it go deliver people and pick them up and drop them off that morning? You didn't have to get out of your house. Or grandma can make it to the doctor's appointment without having to have anybody help her keep that independence. These are things that I think self-driving is going to be great for. I hope that it's more than just Tesla. I think Waymo's doing a great job, but to your point, none of us are going to own that Waymo car.
Yep.
And I think by having Tesla guide us in a way of, here's your car at home, but you can use it for these other things, is going to open up the door for other car manufacturers to say, can we do this? And those partnerships you mentioned very well could be the open door for that. So there's my 10 cents.
Yeah, I hope other people go ahead.
The one thing I'll say is I was just, I was thinking about my point and Jesse's point is like, the software side of things being, utilized. It's being like, you've seen that technology also improve other spaces beyond, like in transportation, outside of just driving. The software now helps airplanes land on runways in cloudy conditions. Whereas before you're having to rely on pilot and verbal cues. Now the airplane knows how to line up and land on that strip the safest way possible with altitude and all of that figured out, because technology, and that has lowered the amount of accidents and issues with airplanes. And that it's that exact same technology that we're going to see continue to bloom in vehicles. And obviously much more people drive vehicles than fly airplanes, but it's just an example of how software is improving transportation.
Today is the worst it's going to get.
Yeah.
Yesterday was worse than today. Tomorrow is going to be better than today. And as long as you have an improvement, that's where we got to go for all of these issues.
That's like a 20 years from now, a statement quote from Jesse.
Oh, that's going to be on a t-shirt. Everybody be wearing it. Elon will have that shirt on. Tomorrow is
going to
better.
be on the wall.
Yep, that'll be
Yesterday
it. So.
First, yeah.
The power up wall when you go into the corporate offices. Yeah, I think it democratizes transportation, Jesse, and I think that hopefully, Josh, I think that these other companies, maybe when they see it stabilized, when they see it kind of perfected to those 0.001 or whatever it needs to be, maybe they license it, maybe it gets out there, and I do think the important part of it is that it be something that you own, because Waymo's going to need to be out there, and what these other folks are doing at Zook and what they're doing with Lucid, those need to be out there as services. Those are important in the big urban cities. But what you experienced there, Josh, in that video, and we should leave a link that too, Josh, like leave that link in the description so that people can go check out that experience you had with FSD when you're driving down those rural areas of Tennessee with the deer and the mail truck and all of those things. That is going to be important as well. So it's a great conversation, guys. Love having it. And I think that wraps up this episode. So yeah, be sure to check out that episode with Josh. Be sure to check out and boost my numbers with my cool setup here, because I only got a couple hundred views. So we'll leave that in the description. I'll go back in, Josh, and I'll put that link in there too. Get some views for my new desk
setup. You need to go to Chris's video. You need to watch Chris's video, and then you need to comment, I came from TDFW, just so Chris knows that he got the love from over here.
Yeah. Boost it, give it, if it's on mobile, give it that, hype it. I need some views on that thing. It is lingering. You know what I think it is too? Like us, I didn't make a video for like a month on my channel. And I think that when you do that, the YouTube algorithm, man, just kills your spread, man.
That'll teach you. They're sitting on the button waiting. And as soon as you don't do it, they just start pushing that button,
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, it just lingered. It just languished. Anyway. Love the conversation, fellas. We'll end up in FSD eventually, but for today, I still love the Lightning more than I love FSD, and I love FSD a lot, so that's saying a lot. But I'm gonna hop in my Lightning and head to work.
Sounds
good. Well, it's been another insightful episode. I will say, with educated certainty, tune in next week for more EV news and updates. We'll try to film before Thanksgiving and get an episode up for the Thanksgiving holiday. So thanks for tuning in to Turn Down for What. Tune in next week. I'm going to say that in faith. tune in next week for more EV news and updates, and we'll bring you another great episode then. But for now, we're signing off.
Good seeing you, fellas.
Thanks for tuning in to Turn Down for What. Make sure you're subscribed with your notifications on to tune in to more EV news and updates. See you next time.